I'm going to shift topics to something that in a very different tone, and you're bringing so much of this positivity and so much of this beauty and excitement of it all, which I'm sure you speak about a lot, and it's unbelievable. But if I can indulge, I'd like to ask, what are some of the more difficult things that you've experienced, and some of the things that you've had to overcome?
Some of the toughest things, and this has been for me one of my challenges, is that the repeated nature that I feel like I'm fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and initially it became taxing on me also, that I felt like every new unit, every new encounter, I'm the first for everything. I remember the day that my chaplain assistant came in, back then they were called chaplain's assistants, now they're called religious affairs NCOs. But the young sergeant comes into my office in tears, and he's like, immediately I put down what I was doing. What's going on? And he tells me that he just came from another unit's area, and one of the drill sergeants yelled at him and so on, demanding why, how come his chaplain is out of regulation with a beard and so on. He needs to do the NCO thing and correct me. And he didn't know how to respond, and I don't know if he was, in the military term, smoked. I don't know if he was smoked when he got told all that or not. But he was very overwhelmed with it. So I said, I have no problem. I'll take my waiver, that allows me to have a beard, and I'll photocopy it and go take it, show it to the guy. So as I'm going to do that, I'm standing by the copier. It's right outside the command area, and the sergeant major comes out of his office, and that particular Sergeant Major Johnson, was very grandfatherly. And he comes out and he goes, "Chaplain, what's going on?" And he sees my soldier,
quite emotional.
Quite emotional, and goes, "Sergeant, tell me." And before I could say anything, the sergeant goes on to tell Sergeant Major what's going on. And Sergeant Major takes my photocopy that I just made of my waiver, and he goes, "Chaplain, the only people that should be asking you for a copy of this are in your chain of command. Anyone else could reach out to us, and we will talk to them. Sergeant, go back to that drill sergeant and tell him that if he wants an answer, he could come with his sergeant major to come see me."
Wow.
Okay? That's it. And, but I felt outside of that, where someone was advocating for me, I felt that I'm always fighting for whatever it is, for Shabbos, for Yom Tov, for kosher food. It's always a fight. And I felt that it's always an uphill battle. That's what it felt like. And when it became overwhelming, and it has become overwhelming at times, I felt that, how do you deal with it? And the answer lies within the shluchus itself. So several years ago, I was attending a family event, and I had a frustrating week, military related. And while I'm sitting at that event, a family member tells me about a book called Gates of Trust, Shar Bitachon, which I read very cursory in a younger age. I barely knew what it was saying. You know what I mean? And this gentleman goes on to tell me all about it, and he encourages me. And he doesn't know anything. He didn't ask me how my week is. He doesn't know what's going on. He just tells me, if you learn it, you'll
get a bit of koyach.
Yeah. And I decided, I'm going to get 2 copies of it, and I'm going to learn with my wife. As I make that decision, this is at 9 o'clock at night at an event, right? As I make that decision, tomorrow I'm going to go buy it before I go home, and I'll have these 2 copies. I get an email from Aleph that Aleph is now offering it for free.
Wow.
The military.
Yeah. I've seen it upstairs. Yeah.
So Aleph is offering it for free. All we need to do is send an email. I sent an email that night. I need it. I need it. And indeed, I started learning with my wife, and then eventually I even started a class for my community on the base, and it changed our trajectory of viewing everything. There's nothing now. There's no challenge. There's no, even when it's frustrating, I'm dealing with someone that doesn't understand, or someone that straight up fights me about whatever. I'm going like, there is an ulterior reason. God is not, there's nothing by mistake. Everything is deliberate. I'm just not seeing maybe the full picture yet. Let me take a deep breath.
And we'll find out.
I'll find out. Exactly. But this is
in episode 2.
or
7.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But at that point, I have to say, all of my frustrating days suddenly became,
just mentally flipped around.
Totally. This is I'll just use it as another example. A Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl's book. Again, I read it as a kid. I'm not a kid, but like a teenager or whatever. I read it. I read a lot. I didn't really. I didn't internalize it. And then one day I'm calling Rabbi Estrin for something, some question or something, and a conversation comes up, and he tells me he quotes something from the book. And I said, what book is that? I would love to get my hands on that book. He goes, you never heard of Viktor Frankl's A Man's Search for Meaning? I'm like, the book, the name sounds familiar, but like, where do I know it from? And he says, I'm overnighting your book. The clarity comes again.
Yeah.
So that trajectory changes. So the story with the wedding with that soldier, the story of in Afghanistan, I had an encounter with a Jewish soldier that again, a totally divine providence. In the first time, the second time in Afghanistan, where my life was saved, straight up, Ashgacha brought this. 100% the story crosses through a few chaplains, and I would encourage you to interview the other chaplain about it. Also, I'll give you the name in a moment, but this is, you could connect the dots and make out of this a series.